Have you ever wondered what actually goes into building the apps and websites you use every single day? Well, it all starts with the developer and a really powerful set of tools. Today, we're going to take a super fast tour of what's in that modern developer's toolkit.
So, what does it really take to build an app today? It's not just one single piece of magic software. It's this whole ecosystem of languages, frameworks, and tools that all have to work together perfectly. In this explainer, we're going to crack that toolbox wide open and see how all the pieces actually fit together.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start with the languages, the very foundation. Then we'll look at the front end, the stuff you actually see and click on, and the back end, which is the engine running everything behind the scenes. After that, we'll dive into data science to see how we learn from all this, and we'll wrap it all up with the essential tools every single developer needs. Let's get into it. First stop, languages. You can think of these as the brains behind the whole operation. They are the fundamental blueprints, the pure logic that makes an application do, well, anything. Picking the right language is one of the first and, honestly, most important decisions you make on any project.
Now let's look at two of the heavyweights, Java and Python. Java's whole philosophy is write once, run anywhere. It's strict, it's safe, and that makes it an absolute fortress for huge enterprise-level applications. Then you've got Python. Python is all about speed and simplicity. The syntax is so clean and readable, making it a go-to for pretty much everything from web development to data science. So you see the trade-off, right? It's Java's rock-solid structure versus Python's incredible flexibility.
All right, we've got our logic. Now let's build something people can actually see and touch. Welcome to the front end. This is the digital storefront of your application. It's where the user's entire experience begins.
Building a modern web page is all about layers. You start with HTML. That's the bare-bones skeleton of the page. Then, CSS comes in like an interior designer, adding all the colors, fonts, and layouts to make it look good. But it's still just a pretty picture until JavaScript arrives. JavaScript is the spark that brings it to life, making things happen when you click and scroll. And for really complex apps, we use a framework like React to organize everything into neat, reusable pieces.
And that brings us to what is a total game changer, component-based architecture. Seriously, instead of one giant, messy file for a web page, you build tiny, self-contained, reusable pieces. Think of them like digital Lego bricks. Each button, each menu, each search bar is its own little mini program. This makes building and fixing huge, complex applications so much easier.
Okay, we've seen the beautiful storefront. Now let's go to the back, into the engine room. The back end is the powerful, hidden machinery that does all the heavy lifting. It's processing your data, running the core logic, and talking to the database.
So how does this actually work? Well, let's follow a single click. You click a button on the website. The front end immediately sends a request to something called a REST API. Think of it as a special messenger service. A backend framework like Spring Boot picks up that message, does whatever thinking it needs to do, and maybe queries a MySQL database for info. Then, it wraps up the answer in a neat little package called JSON and sends it right back to the front end. And this all happens in milliseconds. It's amazing.
So why do so many developers love a framework like Spring Boot? Well, it has a superpower: auto configuration. It's smart enough to look at the other tools you're using and automatically set itself up. This means developers get to skip all the boring, tedious setup and jump right into building the cool stuff that actually matters.
And where does all that precious data live? In a relational database, like MySQL. The easiest way to think about it is as a super organized digital filing cabinet. All the data is stored in neat tables with rows and columns, and it uses special keys to link everything together, which ensures all the data stays consistent and reliable.
Okay, but here's where things get really cool. Modern apps don't just use data anymore, they learn from it. This brings us to the incredible field of data science, where we sift through all that user information to find patterns, make predictions, and drive smarter decisions.
A data scientist toolkit, which is almost always built on Python, is an absolute powerhouse. You've got NumPy for blazing fast calculations, Pandas for wrangling data into these powerful tables, Matplotlib for turning boring numbers into insightful charts, and then you have something like XGBoost for building scary, accurate predictive models.
And this right here is what it's all about. You can take a massive, messy spreadsheet of data with a tool like Pandas, and then with just a few lines of code in Matplotlib, turn it into a super clear visual story like this one. Instantly, you can see exactly which department has the highest average salary, no more guessing.
So what's the secret sauce in a tool like XGBoost? Well, think of it like building a team of experts. Instead of relying on one genius model, it builds hundreds of simple little models one after another. And here's the clever part. Each new model specifically learns from the mistakes of the one before it. So the team just gets smarter and smarter until it's incredibly accurate. Okay, finally, let's talk about the developer's workbench. These are the universal tools. It doesn't matter if you're working on the front end, the back end, or data science. Every single developer relies on these every single day.
At the very heart of everything is Git. The best way to think of it is as the ultimate save button, but with a built-in time machine. Every time a developer saves their work, Git takes a snapshot, which is called a commit. This creates a perfect history of the project, so you can go back to any point in time and see exactly what changed, who changed it, and why. It's absolutely essential.
So, if Git is the save system on your local computer, GitHub is the central cloud library where the whole team's code lives. It's built on top of Git, but it adds these amazing tools for collaboration, like pull requests, which let teams review and discuss changes before they become a permanent part of the project.
And where does all this code actually get written? Well, in a code editor. And one of the most popular is VS Code. This is the developer's digital workshop. It's super fast, it's got smart code completion that feels like magic, and it has this massive ecosystem of extensions, so every developer can customize it to work exactly the way they want.
So, let's put it all together. Here's a quick cheat sheet. You've got your beginner-friendly stuff like Python and Git, which are just fundamental these days. Then you move up to intermediate tools like MySQL for managing all your data. And when you're ready to build really complex, large-scale applications, you've got the more advanced frameworks like React for the front end and Spring Boot for the back end. It's a whole spectrum of tools for every part of the job.
Wow, okay, we covered a ton of ground, from the core languages all the way to predictive machine learning. Every single one of these tools is a deep, fascinating world of its own. So the only real question left is, which one are you going to master next?